everybody, my name is Noni Mugara and welcome to the Plunge Podcast. This is episode 2 of the Plunge, where we deep dive into conversations that need to be had around personal growth, healing, and transformation. So I had episode 1 that you guys have really been loving so far on my social channels. Super excited for that. Thank you for everybody who came in and said, our topics are inspirational and they're making you guys think about growing your personal growth and your healing journey. So as I had earlier mentioned last time, I have a guest in studio today, and it's none other than my amazing friend all the way from Uganda, David Gonahasa.
Hi, Lisa. I think there should be one more PPP. What that do again? There you go. Hi, Lisa. How are you?
That's Vuvuzela, just in case anybody was wondering what I'm doing. All right. So for purposes of my podcast, my name is Noni. Right?
So I can't mix up the names.
No.
Okay, cool.
Not allowed. Not allowed. Okay. So I guess maybe you can just let us know who is David? Why are you here? And what made you come all the way from Uganda to Kenya to record my podcast with me?
I should give that to you, actually. So my name's David. David Gonahasa. I am a Ugandan entrepreneur. We ran this pretty cool little business called Tripesa, and we're both in Uganda and Kenya. So from time to time, I will come over to sort of work with the team to support our growth. And incidentally, this time around, you were recording an episode of your podcast. So it was fun to be a part of it.
Yeah. Do you feel like, how are you feeling? Do you feel nervous? Do you feel excited?
There's a lot of pressure because I have no clue what you're going to ask me. So normally what's a lot easier is when you have a podcast recording that's going to be about, say, business or entrepreneurship. Right. When I walked in and found your blonde hair, I asked myself, I don't have no clue where this is going to go, because that just changed a few days ago.
I have a feeling I know where you're going with this. So so David asked me why I turned blonde.
That was the first thing I asked you.
And what did I say?
Because blondes have so much more fun. So there's a new life transition to the fun Lisa.
Exactly.
There you go.
All right, cool. So David, I met you from like a corporate point of view, and then I kind of feel like we just happened to kind of merge. We're very similar in personality. And I think one of the things that I really admire about you is how unapologetically yourself you are, right? Like I feel, in my opinion, you're super unapologetic. You're just who you are. And I think that's what I want us to talk about today. So in my first season, I'm calling it #the self series, which is where we are building our personal growth, self-development, etc. So the last episode was about validating yourself. And then I want episode 2 to be about how to come off as unapologetically yourself as you possibly can. And
do you want to come off as or actually be? It's two different things.
Be. Okay, all right, be. Like to show up as, right? So I think my question to you, the first question is, most people kind of react to their environment and then they kind of adapt, right? Like I get into a room, I see like people are very quiet, so I'm going to be quiet. Like I kind of adapt to the environment that I'm in. But I feel like you're just very like loud and proud, and you're just bold and you're just yourself.
I'm not loud, Lisa. Sorry, Noni.
Please tell us why and how and what made you become so unapologetic.
So as a child in primary school, so my name is Gonahasa, right? And if you meet bullies in primary school, they can add anything to Gona, right? So I was Gonahasa, and I had a fairly big head. So I was Gona head, Gona black, Gona all these things. And I went through a lot of bullying, if you want to call it that, right? But I mean, I didn't see it as bullying. I saw those kids having fun, but it was actually bullying. And I think it was about P6 when one of the kids in my same class.
It was what?
Primary 6. So this is probably your year.
Like class 6.
Yeah, class 6.
For Kenyan
purposes. So it's not really classic. So you have 8 years in primary school, right?
Yeah.
So it's probably like your class 7. So one class before you finish primary school. So I am about 12 years old. 10, 11 years old. So 11 years old or thereabouts. So I'm really a child. And one of the guys walks into, we were at a scouts camp and there was so many things being said to me. And I left to go and cry myself to sleep as a child. And one of the guys came and said to me, do not ever let anyone make you feel any less of yourself. Now, this is a child my age, right? So that was the most profound thing I ever had in my life.
So it was someone who
and I was a child with the same age. Exactly.
Right.
So, and that became a series of sort of, I don't know if to call it maturity, but self-awareness, right? Because what self-awareness does for you is you know who you are and you're proud in who you are. So I am David, I am this, and I'm proud of who I am, right? And those small things that I have, you can't take away from me. So no, if you feel whatever you feel about me, or you don't want to talk to me, or whatever it is, or you think I'm annoying, that's your opinion. It doesn't take away from myself. However, and it's very important to note that doesn't take away from the need for etiquette, right? And humility. So it's a mix of things. So I don't think you act unapologetic. I think if you're self-aware and you're confident, there is really no reason why you should worry about walking into a room and worrying about whether you'll be liked or not liked. It's who you are. So there will be prejudice against you. People will not like you. People won't want to speak to you, but it doesn't matter. It's not going to change.
Yeah.
You could try.
Yeah.
But it's not going to change.
I mean, I feel like it's kind of easier said than done, right? Because most people, and I'm speaking also from my experience as an individual, where I feel like it's easier for me to say, oh, I don't care what people think about me, or whether I feel like I'm judged, or whether I feel like they'll reject me, etc. But in a space where there's need for community and kind of showing up as a part of a team, for instance, right? How do you where's the balance between being unapologetic and not kind of showing up as an asshole, for instance?
Oh, you always show up as an asshole. But the truth though is this, that it's not about not caring, because we all care about what people think about us. We all care about perceptions. We care about it. I think the thing is really knowing how to react to it. Okay, so if I walk into a room and you don't like me, I could either stay there and not be liked for longer, or I could walk away,
right,
and go to a place where I'm liked. If I walk to a restaurant and I don't like your food, I could either go to social media, take a picture of it and say your food's really bad, or I could just never come back to your restaurant, right? So it's the reaction to the other people's actions that you need to take. It's the only thing you can control. You can only control your reaction. You can't control their action, right? So I think on one part, it's having the ability to respect that people have the right to their opinions. People have a right to their perception, a right to feel the way they want to feel about you. Normally, this is, of course, based on what you put out there. The only thing you can control is your reaction to what they feel. So if it's going to make you go and cry in a room and feel bad about yourself, or it's going to make you go get drunk, or do whatever it is, because that's where you're sort of finding your way out, then that's sad. And that's what you need to fix. You need to fix your reaction.
So I just want to go back to, you mentioned something about your childhood and having been bullied and stuff like that.
It's kids having fun. I wasn't
kids
bullied.
having fun?
Yeah, I'm not.
It's okay.
Not,
we can, all right. Okay,
it's what it was termed as, but it was kids having fun.
Okay.
So again, what happened is what I perceived as bullying was, and I'm not, saying this bullying doesn't exist. It does exist, right? What these kids were doing was probably, them making fun of something they found funny.
They made fun of you.
Exactly. So you could sort of say maybe it was their how they were brought up, or then we grew up in homes where there's banter all the time. Like in my home, we just have banter the whole time, the whole day. It's just that this time I was ganged up against, and it hurt me.
Yeah,
so,
which is interesting that you brought that segue, because that's exactly where I was going. Do you feel like who you are as an individual is something that kind of came from your home, from like your mom or your family, or is it something that you learned from the kid who kind of told you, hey,
No, it's nurture. And nurture takes time.
So it's nurture from home.
Your environment, your home, your experiences, all of it sort of, feeds together, right? I was brought up in a home where my dad taught me to be a man. He taught me to be proud. He taught me to stand for myself and what I believed, I grew up with a mom who was, don't be stubborn. I will spunk you. You have to, grow up the right way, right? we were not spoiled children. We were raised to know that, listen, you have to be self-sufficient, you have to be resilient, you have to be these little what do you call it, virtues that we were passed on to us. And those virtues eventually comes on to how you relate them to the real world. So home plays a very big part. But what does home look like? Home means, you should tell your children that they are enough. They're full. They can be whatever they want to be. You should tell them they're creative enough to actually build things and make things happen, right? Because half the time, your success is going to be heavily dependent on your resilience ability, because the world's going to slap you. The only thing you're going to hold back on is, I have the ability to actually walk through this. And that comes from a place deep inside you that you may call unapologetic or whatever you want to call it. But it's just knowing that, there's many ways to say it without having to bleep on the camera, but it's just like, I'm okay. It's good. Fine. Whatever. Move.
Yeah. Do you feel like there's a time in your life where you were kind of pushed to defining who you are as an individual?
I think life will constantly force you to define who you are from very early on. Okay. So in primary school, the friends that you get with, because, primary school kids, the most evil people in the world.
What do you mean when you say
my pastor says kids are evil, right?
What do you mean when you say kids are evil?
Like on the football field, when you're all standing in line and everyone's choosing who they want to play with.
So, I used to hate that.
So I was the kid who was never picked.
I was always the last as well, because I was not very athletic.
Exactly, probably that. But then eventually I'll just be like, I want to play with you. If you don't want me to play, I'll play with you. Right. You just choose to put yourself there. So it starts that far back, because what happens is the world's reactions towards you, it comes down again to how you react, right? So it starts that far back. As you go through secondary school, the friends you have, the choices you make, all these things force you to, define who you are. And as you grow older, at the workplace. But actually, what's interesting is I think that the foundational childhood actions and activities actually force you to define who you are. Because guess what? Think about this critically. In most cases, if you knew somebody back in primary school or secondary school, there's a very good chance that a lot of who they were then is who they are now. If they used to sulk, many times, if they used to sulk and be, completely full of themselves, or they were so very needy, or they pretty much the same person. Very, very little things change later on. So
I feel like
expose yourself to experiences. Is this how I feel?
I feel like for me, I feel like I have really, really changed. I am not the kid I used to be, or because I feel like and correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like you're saying who you were like as a kid or in high school is kind of like a reflection or a representation of who you are now.
To a huge extent, yes.
Is that kind of what you're trying to say?
To a huge extent.
So
you could create personas around it, right? So people create personas.
Right.
So this person who walks into a room and is trying to act super confident, and people can work on this, right? You can actually work on your confidence. You can work on, and what gives you confidence? In many cases, confidence is built on your wealth of knowledge. Money builds confidence, okay? But all these things are very superficial.
Does money really build confidence?
Oh yeah, I mean, how many times do you see a guy walk into a space and when he has money, it's like, yo, hey,
I feel like money. I feel like money just reflects who you really are.
No, it doesn't.
As an individual,
I've had that statement before. I think probably who you really are supposed to be.
Exactly, because I feel like you've been fronting when you were broke.
No, you're
like fake, like you're fake humble.
The real you comes out when you're broke.
Yeah, no, I feel
please buy me stuff.
I feel like when people are broke, they're kind of like very okay. I feel like broke is the wrong word. Let's say not having disposable income,
the ability to do what you want to do.
Exactly,
right? But money gives you the ability to do what you want to do, and that gives you confidence. So, what is confidence? How do you define a confident person?
Exactly,
it's a guy who walks into a room and says, "I want to do this and do it." Right? It's I want to talk to that girl. You go and talk to her. I want to do this, and you do it. That's how we define confident people. I walk into a room and say what I feel. But what's the basis of confidence? Is a basis, right? It's either your wealth of knowledge. It's because you feel like, you know what, I have the right to say this because I know it. Right. So in the same way, what money does is it gives you the ability to say that I can buy whatever I want.
Do you feel like money has is a reason why you are just so unapologetic AF?
We've been broke for a long time, been broke for a very long time. Actually, what's interesting is no. What's interesting is this, and I wish I had money. What's interesting about it is this.
What did you just say? You wish you had money?
Yeah. What's interesting about it is this. So I built my first business at 19 years old.
At 19.
So actually, you asked me. Yes, I forgot that you asked me this question about like a defining moment in my life.
I was actually gonna go
I actually
back to
remember
that.
something just now.
All right, cool.
So at 19, I built my first business, and entrepreneurship is extremely tough, right? I did a job in Rwanda, made some money, came back. What I realized though is that all money does, it helps you buy stuff. Money will never buy you confidence. It will never buy.
So it helps you.
It could buy you friends in the short run, right? But it won't buy you lasting relationships,
right?
Right.
Oh, that's Can you just repeat what you just said?
I forgot what it was.
You said money
will buy you friends, but won't buy you lasting relationships.
Ooh,
right?
Okay, now I want you to now repeat it as a soundbite.
Money won't buy you friends, but will buy you Money will buy you friends, but won't buy you lasting relationships.
Wow, that's powerful.
Okay? So I want to go back to that defining moment. So I am 19 years old, and we built this company called Media Flower, and we're selling, websites and web hosting in 2003 in Uganda. And I remember going to one of the richest guys in the country to sell him a website. And I walked in. Actually, he called me because they found us on the internet. We were building sites at the time. 19 years old. I walk in this guy's office, and he was like one of the biggest guys at the time. So he called me. He calls me. No, it was like a real estate, everything. That's a rich guy.
All right, like just a rich
guy.
Man.
So I walk into his office, and he won't even let me sit on his chair to face his computer. So he gives me a little stool and says, sit here. What can you fix this? I'm like, yeah, we can find a way around it. Now, first off, I was a 19-year-old kid walking to offices trying to sell them websites in 2003. So I was facing the most rejection in my life.
Right.
I began to figure out ways to get around receptionists. So it was pretty much like, how do you hack this? How do you go around it?
Like when you say rejection, what exactly was happening?
Everyone was saying no.
They were just like, no.
Have you seen a 19-year-old? So I thought I was a confident kid walking into these rooms, talking to people. Yeah, exactly. So it was what happened to me. Anyway, so I walk in this guy's office, and he has the worst cough in the world. Like he's like, really bad.
That's nasty.
So I'm sitting there and thinking to myself, and I remember this clearly. I'm like, if this guy, with all his wealth and money and everything he is, can have a cough like that, I can be like him. Right.
Wait, what's the correlation?
Because it demystified wealth. It demystified what it takes to build. It basically made everyone human, right?
Yeah.
So if you know that everyone on the other side is human, why do I need to worry so much?
So the fact that he had a normal human experience.
He was human. He was normal.
Made you realize that I can also, because I cough like that as well. So I can also make that much money.
Exactly. It just took away the fear of, I can't achieve what you can achieve. I have to, fear you and revere you and all these things. Respect people, definitely, but they're not gods, right? So what all this comes down to is that your perception of me or your opinion of me does not really matter unless I give it power to make it matter. So my actions, because see, your actions or your reactions will in turn create actions and reactions from my side, right? So if they don't matter as much, then I can do what I should do.
Yeah.
What I need to do.
There's something I really want to kind of like maybe touch base on is the fact that how do you own who you are when you get into a room, or you like, is it a certain persona that you kind of pick up? Or because even when we were right about to shoot the podcast right today, I kind of walked in and I was like, hey everybody, I hope you guys are good. And I just sat in a corner and started watching my own stuff, and you just came in like trailblazing, like, and you literally told someone that I'm 100% sure you don't know who that person is. Did you know her?
No.
You didn't know her. But
no, I know her. She charged my phone the last time.
She didn't.
She helped me charge my phone the last time.
Not. Let's not name names. But there's the lady who you came and told her. And I really like the reason I'm saying this is just the fact that you really own who you are, because you just came and said, "Oh, did you know that Noni says she dyed her hair because she said
that was funny.
Blondes are fun." But like, it's just the way you did it. It's not what you said. It's the way you said it and the way you did it. And you said it. And let me tell you how I know you own yourself, because you didn't even notice it, right? But you said it as you were walking like away. Like you didn't even like take a minute or a second to listen to her answer. You were just like, "Oh, that's so funny." And you just walked away. It was like a very like in an organization.
That sounds rude. Actually, I walked away.
No. I'm not saying it in a bad way. It's kind of like how like at an organization a CEO could be like, "Today you look so good," and then you're like, "Oh, thank you," and then he just kind of walks away, very proud, very bold.
It's not proud and bold. It's not an honest compliment or statement.
Fair enough.
It's not a conversation starter.
But I'm speaking from like my perspective, from someone who wants to. So this journey for me is I am on a journey, and I'm kind of bringing my viewers and my listeners to my journey as we're all growing together. And I want to be that person. I don't think I'm there yet, but there's a Noni in my mind who's like that. So how do you own who you are? Like, it was so effortless. Like,
so it's honestly, I don't know what the answer to that question is, because I think it's sort of years of just, again, it's a lot of self-awareness, right? Like, it goes back to the first thing I said. It's me making that statement is not on the basis of looking for an answer or anything like that. It's pretty much just, breaking the ice and going like, "Hey, I'm here, I'm human. How are you?" Because, interestingly, you spoke about doing the podcast. Now, public speaking, because this can be related to that, is going to give you chills. It's always going to make you panic, right? So if anyone tells you they don't panic before even when I sat here for a few minutes, it was a bit of a heartbeat, but then you need to own it because you've decided to walk the journey, right? So it's not, I want to speak up a little bit of self-awareness, right? Self-awareness is, so there's two things. There's self-awareness and self-worth, right? So self-worth is pride in yourself. Like, I am who I am. I am what I am. No, self-worth is I am what I am, right? I am proud of the person I am, and I can walk into a room. Doesn't matter what you say or think. I'll be confident enough to say, "You know what? I can have a conversation and talk to you." Right.
Right.
Self-awareness is I know who I am. These are my principles. These are my values. This is something I'm okay to do and not okay to do. Right. Your peer influence won't actually make me change, right? So I like to relate, and I hope I remember this. I like to relate self-worth and self-awareness to a palm tree in the wind, right?
To a what?
A palm tree.
A palm tree in the wind,
right? Yes. So the thing about life is there's wind, like there's constantly wind. So all these things you're seeing are wind, like the room you walk into and how you feel about them. So self-worth will make you stand in the wind. Right? Like, no matter what you say, I'm there. I'm here and I'm confident.
Right.
Self-awareness will, even as you sway and bend in the wind, you will come back to where you are because you just know. You're like, this is who I. When I walk into a room, and I'm meeting a president, right? He's the president. He runs the country. He's a very successful, wealthy man. But that's him. That's not me. Yes, he could have me arrested, but that's if I do something wrong to him, which I'm not trying to. What are we doing? We're trying to have a conversation about where I either add value to his life or to his country or something like that.
Okay.
I'm not stealing from him. I'm not going to. So what's the worst that's going to happen if I don't do anything wrong to him?
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it.
Yeah. So like, what's the worst that could happen?
Well, that's a general thing every person would have in their heads, except when you walk up to random people and do dumb things.
My brother always used to ask me like, what's the worst that could happen?
But it's true.
And if you're okay with the results of the worst, what the worst looks like to you, then
normally in the real world, unless you're going to punch someone in the face,
right,
it's either going to be a yes or a no. So if I walk in, maybe is normally a no. So if I walk into a
Well,
place,
I mean, in sales, though, you can't say that. In
it
sales,
becomes
they
a qualified lead that you have to follow up on forever and keep
say,
calling.
in sales, they say, and maybe could always turn it to a yes.
This is true. Many guys have gotten married that way.
Wow. How did we move to? Oh, okay. You were saying.
Next question.
I mean, it's not like I have like a list
We're
of
having a whole
questions.
conversation. Yeah, it's actually fun. I should do this more often. Oh my gosh.
So I know you're headed to the airport, but don't worry, we still got you.
Well, I'll tell you, self-confidence never got anyone to a flight. Getting there on time does.
All right. So you spoke a lot about growing up and your family. You're now a family man. How is that panning out for you?
It's the most amazing thing in my life. To be honest, I sort of sometimes sit back and think I should have done this so much earlier.
Is that why you're running back home?
Very importantly, yes. I hope my wife sees this. But also, and here's the important one. I feel the weight of the immense responsibility of raising a man. Right. So I have a little 4-month son who, as they grow from little fragile little things, like little wriggly worms, and they grow into human beings. So now I see a human being who is actually growing into a boy and to a man. And so many things about that boy are going to be based on what I instill in him.
Exactly.
So my father, and I'm super proud of this guy, right? The one thing I'm proud of is I keep saying I was raised by a man to be a man. What does a man do? A man takes responsibility. A man takes ownership. A man takes care of his family. There's a little things little nuggets that I had coming into my head every time growing up. There's like little words my father used to say in life that I remember to this day. So like one I remember was driving one day randomly out of the blue, and he goes like know the rocks, the small stones, and the sand in your life. And be sure to manage how you relate with those. Right? So the rocks, the close people to you, what people who really matter. The small stones are people who also matter, and the sand is everyone else. And it's important to know how you relate with all this. Right? My dad taught me things like, because you have 2 legs doesn't mean you climb 2 trees at the same time. You climb one and climb up your flag, climb down, climb the next. Right?
Oh wow.
There's all these little small things, but the thing is, he was present, he was available, he was tough. But he was there and he was a father, right? So for me, raising a son now becomes, can I instill that same level of confidence in my son, that self-awareness, that self-worth, right? And you start realizing it goes back generations. Because I had a grandfather who gave us the surname we still use today is our grandfather's name, right? If he didn't do great things, we probably would not have kept his name. Right. So it's things like that. Like it's one thing for us to speak about how to become self-aware, how to become, stronger people. But also, how do we raise our kids to be self-aware, to have self-worth, to know how strong they are or how strong they can be? So yeah, I need to go back home and chap out the kid.
I feel like I relate to you because my big brother also recently has a newborn.
You're an auntie?
Yeah, I'm a whole auntie. I like to call myself Manti. Manti is like mommy and auntie at the same time, right? And I was asking him, and he's also 4 months old as well. And I was asking him, is this changing who you are as a man? And they said, absolutely, because now I realize the responsibility and the impact that I have on a whole human being. So I think maybe for me, my question to you would be, for any guy who's watching this, who is a little bit, because you mentioned that you would have loved to start this sooner. So for someone who's probably having doubts around getting into a thriving relationship or a marriage or wanting to be a dad, and for a man out there who maybe didn't have a strong man who helped him grow, like the way your father was there present for you. What are some of the ways, because you say your dad helped you to be a man, right? So for a man out there or a guy out there who is watching or listening to us and feels like they don't really know where to go from here or to get to a place where you are, what's like a parting shot that you would give such a guy?
I think it's It's purpose, right?
It's what?
Purpose.
Purpose.
Purpose. So did I say like a Ugandan? Purpose.
Purpose.
Papasi.
Purpose.
Anyway, so yeah, so purpose.
Did you say that on purpose?
So, so being a man, right? You're a steward. You're here to, if you're religious, to co-create with God. You're here to build, right? Now, again, you may believe whatever you want to believe. That's up to you. But let's face it. In life, what we all are doing is creating and co-creating and building through life. So you will do that, irrespective of what you believe. And what family does, and you have the choice to have, family or not have family. That's really up to you, right? But what family does to you is it just strengthens your purpose in so many ways, but also gives you a very strong, supportive environment for all these things you want to do. I mean, for me, and I'll say this, is I feel like my family, my personal family structure, so my wife and child and that, have given me a lot of grounding and foundational support to do the things I need to do, right? And in return, I know that my responsibility is to be able to raise my son, to be able to build my family, right? It doesn't matter if my wife is making more money than me or whatever it is, but together we will be able to build up this amazing unit and make it the best it can be. So I think to anyone who's struggling with this, it's I don't think I'm in the best person to advise anyone on what to do, but I think just consider, why are you here? What do you want to achieve with your life? If it's to make all the money in the world, go and do it. But if it's to have long-term, impactful, purposeful life, the family structure does help.
Yeah, because I hear a lot of men saying when they got married or when they got a kid, they became better men.
It's like responsibility. And also, let me tell you, so I realized that there's a love that we don't know exists.
Really? So you're just walking around thinking
you think you found it, you think you're there, and then you realize there's more.
So you're telling me I'm still in
more
in the boundaries or precipice of what love feels like.
Yes, and it may not be right to say this because you see, people have choice, right? And choice is something very important to respect. But I think for me, like having that, when this boy was born, it took me some time to really process it. Right? So I was in the theater when he came out. I watched him come out. I got into a car.
Like actual watching. Yeah. You didn't faint?
That's on TV. Come on. We're African men. Don't judge me for that statement. Anyway, I watched him come out, and then he was, my wife and him were wheeled to the delivery room.
Honestly,
to the thing.
I don't think I would have.
You're not a guy. Why are you watching? Anyway, so he gets wheeled to the room, and then I drive out to pick up something. At this whole moment, I'm sort of frozen. I sort of don't know how to process these emotions that I have.
You're
right?
processing.
And so I remember driving out. I went to buy something extremely random, like a camera, which I didn't need.
A camera.
I don't know how it happened, but I drove out to buy a camera. Again, it was just very random. Then on my way back, I just began to scream in the car, like just shout to myself. Like it was extreme euphoria and joy, right? But after that, I was hit with the weight of responsibility, which is, okay, my guy, now.
Wait, let's just rewind. Did you just say you were screaming in the car?
I was, yeah.
Like what were you saying?
I don't know. It's like, wah!
Was it like happy, wow?
They're going to finish my money, wow!
Was it like they're gonna wow? And you're like, what?
I have to work so much more. Wow. No, but it was just joy, right? And then moving from the point of joy, it did sound like that. Moving from the point of joy, it then moved to responsibility, right? Because now it's not just you. Think about responsibilities. It forces you to do better as a man. It actually does.
Really?
You've heard about people who they tell, kick this guy out of his house. The father kicked him out of his house so he could become a better person and take care of his, his business better. And it's true. So it just comes with so much, even African culture says that children come with their blessings. And it's just that responsibility. It makes you work harder. It makes you wake up earlier in the morning. But lastly, also there's this big thing called...
It also makes you take the last flight
back home.
Yeah.
It's also probably a money issue. But anyway, you know what they say about kids, like monkey see, monkey do, right? what you do, they're watching and they'll do exactly what you do.
Fact.
So as you
That's
grow
true.
older, because think about this, you ever caught yourself doing something your father used to do or your mother used to do? And you go like, no.
Like what though?
Like saying something. Like I catch myself saying things my dad used to say when we were kids.
I know my mom says seriously all the time. And I think she was telling me, what was she telling me the other day when I was at her house? To kind of cover up because it's cold, like I'm a kid.
Yeah.
And I was like, seriously? And my dad laughed because he was like, I sounded just
exactly like your mom. Yeah.
Right,
so it just
right.
happens. It happens as you raise a kid. So it's important to make sure that, you raise your kids to know who they are.
Do
know
you
what they're worth.
do you feel like you're providing like a better life for them that you didn't have? The reason I'm asking this is I feel for me, growing up, my parents were very I always say, I don't know how to, when people say African parents are like this and like that, I can't relate because my parents were so chill and they allowed me all the freedom in the world.
I mean, you're blonde now, so.
What does that have to do with anything? But it's actually good that you say that because they just allowed me to be who I am.
Yeah,
and I think maybe that's why I just woke up one day and I was like, I want to turn blonde. And I think it's because it just gave
Technically,
me...
you didn't turn blonde. You turned part of your hair blonde. So don't grow up black again.
David, you are reaching. You are reaching. But anyway, I think my question to you is, do you feel like obviously you want to provide a better life for your kid than you had growing up, but do you feel like in this day and age, when we're so keen about self-confidence in kids and self-awareness and also kind of pulling back to being unapologetically you, do you feel like you want to instill those values in your kid, but then also you might end up spoiling them at some point?
So I feel like many times people who say I want to give my child a better life than I had, many times there's some tragic stories, but many times it's related to money and the types of schools you went to and all those things, right? I feel like my parents gave me the best life they could give me, right?
So you're saying you went to the...
No. They gave me the best life they could. No. They gave me the best life they could give me, right? So it's not relating. Yes, it's not relating it to I went to international schools or I did this or I did that. I think they gave me the best they could, right? I went to good schools. I always had food. I had shoes. I had whatever I needed, right? We didn't go to crazy fancy international schools, but we went to good schools, So it's not a comparison. I'm not comparing the life I give my child to the life my parents gave me. I respect and appreciate the life my parents gave me. And as such, I will try to give my son the best life I can give him. Now, I'll tell you what. You can't say values are only taught in poor families or broke families. No, values are taught in families. So whether you go to a good school, the basic lesson that when an older person comes to a walkway, if you're younger, you walk to the side.
You said when an older person
when you walk through a doorway, like respect your elders, right? These are the lessons that we were given.
Right.
Like if an older person comes towards you in a doorway, you walk to the side and let them pass. It's just manners. You don't need to be rich or poor to have manners. So I will give my son the best life I can give him and try to instill whatever good manners that I was instilled with to him. And also there's a new good manners like don't tweet more than 170 characters. I don't know. But you get it. These things have changed today.
Wow. All right. So I have 4 questions that I kind of want you to, top of mind, just answer the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
All right. So this is some questions to ask yourself in order for someone either watching or listening to be unapologetically themselves. And even when I was kind of like doing my research and coming up with these questions, I found myself having a difficulty answering, right? But I feel
like you're setting me up for something here, but I'll just take it.
I'm officially dubbing you as our unapologetic master, maestro.
That's not true.
All right. So that's what I'm saying. The Plunge Podcast has officially dubbed you as our unapologetically master. All right. So What do you believe about yourself? About who you are supposed to be?
I'm supposed to change the world.
Oof. That's an unapologetic answer.
I try to, at least.
Okay.
Yeah.
How though?
I don't know.
You don't know,
I
but
don't
you
know.
just know it's
I mean,
going to
sort of like
happen.
change what you can, right? So it could be industry, it could be could be your family unit, could be. I mean, listen, you can't just live through life on this rock and just die.
Right.
You must do something, right?
Right.
So if you're going to care about what everyone thinks, you won't do anything. So yeah, I believe that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What would it look like if you were to be all of you unapologetically? All of you, like in all facets.
I wouldn't want to beat myself.
What does that mean?
Because then you're just I don't know, man. I don't know. I think I would be if someone's fully unapologetic, but it's not a bad thing to be unapologetic. I think I'm pretty much close to being there.
Like a good what percentage?
To be honest, Lisa, Noni, the actions and statements of the other person and feelings and emotions rarely will affect what I feel or what I do. If I feel like this is a journey we should be walking, we shall walk the journey.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. That's a good answer. All right. If you were yourself unapologetically, which you are, how would your interactions with other people look like? And what would you do on a daily basis? How would you feel and where would you be spending your time?
I think it'd be very. I think it's they're very value based, right? So if you know who you are, if you have a level of self awareness, you don't need to waste time, right? So it would just be shorter conversations, fewer things said, very clear on what ends we want to be able to achieve in like conversation. I think I'd still be really active in the marketplace. I really am. So I probably would still be active in the marketplace. Again, I told you, it goes back to changing the world.
So you'd basically be doing what you're doing now.
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Which is very fulfilling, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think my last question to you is how should someone honor themselves and also the parts that they don't fancy that much about themselves in order for them to be as unapologetically as they can
But
be?
it's you. It's not going to change. Well, you could go get plastic surgery if you want to change something about yourself.
But changing yourself doesn't necessarily
it doesn't
mean it's
fix
physical,
you.
right?
It doesn't fix the emotional things because you might actually be worried about them. If you ask me, I think the most important thing is work on loving yourself. Work on building your self-worth. Work on realizing that you're the only you that has been put on this rock and you have a time frame. So if you're worrying for most of that time frame, then you're not, creating much or doing much. And also be busy.
Don't be idle.
Don't be idle. Because when you're busy, it takes away these negative thoughts from your head.
You don't
That's
have
what I
the
think.
time to think about what's not working.
No, exactly.
And I will be honest with you. I don't think I like to be busy. I just think I have a busy life.
But when you're busy, you're not worried about your hair.
But who said I'm worried about? First of all, David, you.
That was a joke, Lisa. That was a joke.
But like, I just generally feel like I don't know. I don't think
we all don't like to be busy.
I really don't.
But many times you have to be busy on one part. But also, I'll tell you what, I think some very successful people still very busy because it gives you reason. I mean, like if you don't have reason, if you don't have reason and purpose.
Okay, let's unpack busy. When you say busy,
work.
What does that mean?
Create value in the world. Do something.
Okay, so you're creating value. So you're not just doing something for the sake of doing.
It's painful many times. and there's other things that if you're again, in my opinion, right? In many cases, if you're doing work you really don't want to be doing, but it pays the bills, that could really break you. If there's things that you want to do and you have take care of your responsibility, very important. But if you have a chance to actually get out of that space and build value in the world, or and everyone builds value. In your job, you're building value, but try to do what you love, right?
Things you enjoy to do.
Yeah, it helps.
Okay.
But not all of us have the opportunity to. So in the times you do the stuff you hate doing, do it because it pays the bills, and then eventually find some time to do what you want to do.
as you figure out what you want to do.
How to change that? Yes.
Okay. What's your parting shot as we finalize our amazing unapologetic chat?
I'm not sure what unapologetic means.
Till now, after all this time, or how would you describe the term unapologetic to you?
Be you. Be you, do you. And be proud and confident as you do you. That's it.
Okay. Thank you, David. Thank you for making the time.
Thank you, Lisa.
I know you have so much on your plate.
I have a flight to catch now.
You have a flight to catch. So right after this, you're just...
Yes, I have to head out. But
thank
you for having me. It was fun to have a conversation.
Yeah.
And wish you all the best with the podcast.
So the next time we're going to be by the beach with Tripesa.
I'm not sure about you, but I probably will be.
No, but we will be recording. We will be recording. Sponsored by Tripesa.
That is a promise. We shall do it.
For sure.
Have to head out.
Thank you so much, David. That was David Gonahasa from Uganda with us on episode 2 of the Plunge Podcast. So as he said, to be unapologetically is to be you and do you. Yeah, I got it right?
Yes.
And up until the next episode, say bye to my people.
Bye.
We always say peace.
Peace.
To the camera.
You know, political parties in Uganda matter. If I do a visa, it might be taken another way.
Oh, wow.
I have to go now.
Peace, everybody. Thank you.